Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? Welcome to another, I guess, discussion, tips and tricks, I guess, kind of video. This one is actually one that I really should have done a while ago. I just didn't think about it, and it was actually brought to my attention by a friend or a coworker of a current student of mine. So what that topic is just drum setup and placement. And it seems like a fairly obvious thing. You know, the more comfortable you are behind your drums, the better you're going to play. And also the less likely you're going to have any kind of injury and things like that. So I wanted to talk about that, at least from my perspective. It's because this is somewhat subjective. So I'm going to try to give my thoughts on that from a more sort of subjective view, but on what I've found to work really well, okay, or make sense to me. Okay, all right. So this video, I guess, is for beginners, but really it's something that any level of player should probably analyze, or maybe even reanalyze. I mean, I think this is something you should do every so often. Just to check, is where you have things placed, is that still working for you? All right, or maybe it's time for a change. Maybe experiment with adjusting some things to see if it maybe makes you even more comfortable. At any rate, the first thing that I do in my personal playing is obviously seat height. Okay, now this is definitely somewhat subjective. Okay, so what I would say about seat height, and this is where I would start. Ideally, I don't think that your thigh and your lower leg should be less than 90 degrees. Okay, I think they should be minimal of 90 degrees. Okay, I think if you start going where you're sitting so low that your thigh and lower leg are less than 90, I think that starts to put some undue strain on your back that you may feel right away. You may not feel till years down the road. But I think minimally it should be 90 degrees or more. Okay, because some people like to sit lower. Some people like to sit much higher. Okay, so that's where I would start. All right, and what I would do is I would set up just your bass drum. Okay, and just your seat. That's it. And then try a couple of different levels and play the bass drum a little bit. Just see what feels good. Maybe bounce your left leg around just to see what the balance is like, and depending on which height feels the best, figure that out, and then that's where I would start from. Okay, so now this drum set that I'm sitting at right here is not remotely set up to my liking. Now, normally on a lot of my other videos, you see me playing behind a red drum set. That red drum set is also not set up completely to my liking. The room that I teach in is not actually my room. It's actually the room of another teacher. I just happen to use this room. And as I tell my students when they come in, because there's pictures all over the wall, that I'm not remotely this cool. Not even close. But anyway, so these drum sets belong to that other teacher. Okay, so and this particular drum set is the one that the students primarily use. So this is not set up at all to what I would personally find comfortable. All right, but from here, once you have an idea of what height you want to sit at, from there I would then add in your snare drum. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to get your snare drum, of course, right between your legs, and you want to set it where it's at least waist height. Okay, I mean the idea is you want to be able to strike the snare drum where your stick is horizontal to the playing surface, where it's not like this. Okay, not where it's not this low where you're hitting it like this. And of course, you don't want it too high, where you're having to raise your arm just to hit it correctly. Okay, so you want to just make sure that you have a nice horizontal playing surface with your stick to the head, with your elbows by your side. Okay, how do you know if it's too low? Well, one, if you're if the angle of attack is like this to the head, and also if you're hitting your leg before you hit the snare drum, then yeah, the snare drum is way too low. Okay, so in this example, I don't know if you can see the snare drum. Probably not. I think the hi-hat's covering it, but it's definitely low. So what would look good to me, or feel good to me, I guess I should say, is to get it up about here. Now, I sometimes play with the snare drum, flatter. Sometimes I have it slightly angled towards me. Sometimes I play it slightly angled down to the right. I sort of go back and forth. So as far as the angle of the snare drum, that's entirely up to you, depending on what grip you use and just what feels the most comfortable. Okay, so here, now I play traditional grip, so that definitely affects my snare drum height a lot. So since with traditional grip the stick is angled down and to the right a little bit, I usually have to have the snare drum a bit higher, or again I'll have it angled from left to right, going down like this to compensate for the angle of the left hand. All right. So again, if we just go with something, a slight angle, and we'll just use match grip, okay, as our example here. Something like this, okay, is probably pretty good. Okay. The snare drum is basically right at my waist, okay, and the snare drum has a nice horizontal position to the playing surface, which is what you want, okay, ideally, so that you get a nice, strong, full, hit whenever you strike the drum. Okay. All right. So from there, I would set up probably the hi-hat. Okay. Now again, what should the hi-hat be at? Well, it depends. Okay, I don't know if you saw my video on, I think it's titled "Uncrossing Your Hands." If you play with your right hand over top of your left, then you're going to need to have the hi-hat high enough, okay, where you have room for your left hand to operate, but not so high that it's a struggle to get your left hand on top of it if you need to. Okay. Now, if you're playing more like I do, which is more of a perpendicular angle, then again, you want to make sure the hi-hat's as close to the rack tom as you can get it. And from there, the hi-hat can be really pretty low because, again, your hands aren't going to be crossed, so your hi-hat doesn't need to be that high, okay? So that's what I would say with that. Now, if you're playing open position, then really I would say keep the hi-hat nice and low, all right? Because kind of a main theme that I try to do as far as positioning is to have my elbows stay as much as possible by my sides. Okay, I don't want to really have to do a lot of this or that kind of thing. Okay, I want to try to keep my elbows by my side because to me this is the most relaxed position. Okay. Now, so keep that thought in your mind with everything that with every placement of a piece that you set up. Okay, that try to keep your elbows as much as possible by your side where your arms are nice and relaxed. Okay, and next I would do your toms. Okay, so with your toms, what I usually do is I cover my eyes, or not cover my eyes, but close my eyes, and then I put my sticks where I would like the tom to be. Okay, so close your eyes, put your sticks where it'd be just awesome for the tom to be, and then open them, and then see where your tom is at. All right, if it's not there, then that's when you want to adjust it. And I would do that concerning every tom that you have. Okay, again, just like the snare drum, ideally you want the stick, okay, to be it doesn't have to be perfectly horizontal, but you want the angle of your attack to be as close to horizontal to the playing surface as possible. Okay. Now again, it doesn't need to be perfectly horizontal. I mean, a little angle is fine, but you don't want to be, where the tom is so angled that like downwards that you're striking it like this, and you don't want the tom too high where you're hitting the rim, and you have to again raise your arm to hit it. Okay. So again, horizontal, slightly above horizontal is ideally what you want to be looking for, just like with the snare drum for the toms. Okay. So once you have all your toms in place, Then what I would do is I would just do like some simple eighth notes or 16th notes around the drums and see, can you reach all of them again without having to extend your arms, okay? Where you can reach everything with your elbows staying by your side ideally. I'm not saying it's, if you have to reach a little bit, that's a bad thing, okay? Again, some of this, some people have longer arms than others, so they have a longer reach. So, a lot, those factors are going to come into play, of course, all right? But again, trying to keep a mind of keeping your arms by your side as much as possible, okay? And once you feel like that's comfortable, okay, I would then look at your bass drum and your hi-hat pedals, okay? Where are your feet situated, okay? Your feet, in my opinion, okay, if you were to take away the bass drum pedal and take away the hi-hat pedal, your feet should be in a position that looks like you're just sitting there with your feet on the floor. Okay, now most of us, I assume, when we sit just in a chair, our feet are basically like this. Okay, our right foot's not way out here, our left foot's not way out here, and we're not like having our legs spread wide apart. They're sitting down like this, basically almost shoulder width apart. Okay, to me, that's where your pedals should be. Because again, if you were to take everything away and you're just sitting in the chair, that's where your feet would naturally fall. Okay, so again, I'm trying to think of sitting in a comfortable position. All right, and that's kind of my thought process. So look at your pedals, okay, and go, okay, how do my feet look? Is my right foot bass drum pedal way out here? Is my left foot way out here? And and if you find that that's the case, at the very least, even if you find your old position to be comfortable, try a new position out. Now, granted, it might take some getting used to slightly, but you might find that re-examining your positioning might bring better results, might make you more comfortable, which in turn you will play better. There's no doubt. Okay? All right, so from there, that's when I would start adding in the cymbals, okay? And again, with cymbals, obviously placement is subjective, okay? Usually your ride cymbal's over here. If you have extra toms, then you might put your ride here, or you might like it over here. If you're playing just a 4-piece, I like to have my ride cymbal right here, okay? And that's part of the reason actually why I still play a 4-piece, is I like having my ride cymbal really close, okay? But again, with the cymbals, to me the goal is to be able to hit them without your elbows having to leave your side, okay? So if you're having to do this to reach the ride cymbal or a crash, I think you're going to find that to be ultimately uncomfortable. Not to mention that added distance means you're going to have to work that much harder to go to that particular cymbal or voice or whatever it is that you're hitting, okay? So the more compact and the more closer you can get things to you, you're going to be able to react and move in a much quicker, more efficient manner. Okay? So anyway, that kind of concludes this video. I know some of these things are probably pretty obvious. So again, this is probably more directed towards beginners, but I think everybody, no matter what your level is, if you haven't sort of examined your positioning ever, this might be a good time to do it, okay? And even if you have, maybe re-examine it, maybe try some different things. Because I know for me, the more comfortable I am behind the drums, okay, the better I play. I mean, bar none. Okay, so I encourage you. This is something that might not necessarily seem like a big deal to some, but I would definitely give it some attention if you haven't already. Okay. So anyway, I hope this video helped. I hope it was somewhat clear. I know I have a tendency to be kind of run off in tangents, so hopefully I was clear on this. But if you have any questions, let me know. But I hope this helps some of you out there from beginner to advanced. Okay. And I'm doing the same. So everything that I say in any of my videos, I ultimately try to apply to myself for sure. Okay, so I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk at you later. All right, take care.